So we've been touching on spam complaints quite a while, but we also should be looking at some of the other key indicators. And I know there's a lot of information here on this page. What we're looking at is the sender engagement quality score. This is a new tool from our ESP where we are essentially assigning a score to each sender based on a number of different metrics that we know inbox providers are looking at. And the ones I want you to really focus on, we do have spam rate score, average bounce classification score, bounce rate score. So we're looking at bounces. We're looking at emails that were not delivered for some reason. It could be a technical issue, could be a reputational issue, that email address might not exist. But what I really want you to focus on is the average engagement recency score and the average open rate score. And really the average open rate score is tied to the average engagement recency score. Because what we're looking at with the average engagement recency score is who are you sending to? Are you sending to audience members that have engaged with you? Or are you sending to audience members that have not previously engaged with you or have maybe engaged a while ago, but they haven't engaged in the last month or so? So it's assigning a score based on the metrics that we can see in our system. And what we can see here is a vast majority of senders are a 1 out of 5 when it comes to the average engagement recency score. And that affects your average open rate score, because if we're sending continuously to folks that are not engaging with the emails, that's going to give us a lower open rate, which is also another key indicator to inbox providers that this is not wanted mail. So the average engagement recency score can be definitely improved if we only send a handful of emails, not 34 emails, a handful of emails to audience members that don't show engagement. So again, I understand it's a hot lead when it comes through, and we want to make sure that we're on top of that and we're sending them an email as quickly as possible. But after several attempts, if they're still not engaging and we don't have any other way of contacting them through text or whatnot, then this is a lead that we should be not continuously following up on, because in the eyes again of Gmail, Yahoo, etc., that's a spam-like behavior to just continuously send the emails that are not engaging. This is a quote from the Microsoft anti-spam team. I thought it was really important to include here. Sending to recipients who haven't engaged in 6 months is the kiss of death for your email program. And really what they mean by that is, if you are sending to recipients that are not engaging with your emails, that is the #1 way in their mind to not end up in the inbox. So when it comes to Gmail, Yahoo, etc., 100% the spam complaints are the biggest factor. Microsoft is a bit unique where they really look at engagement levels and recency scores, and that is a very key indicator for them. Again, it's a key indicator for all inbox providers, but Microsoft takes this the most seriously. So that brings us to sunsetting. How do we handle inactive email addresses? Once somebody becomes inactive, which typically is after a couple months, they're not engaging with emails, how should we be treating them? And that's what we're looking at here is a sunset graph. Again, I know there's a lot of information here. What I want you to focus on is the green and the red area. So when we're looking at the green area, we're looking at folks that are pretty safe to send to. So they've shown an open within the last 6 months. If we see the red area here, those are no opens. They have not opened in over 6 months. And if we're sending too many to that segment, then that's going to be, again, a very key indicator to Microsoft especially, but also Gmail, Yahoo, and the others, that this sender does not care about who they're really sending to. They just have a list of emails and they're just getting emails out. So we want to focus on the green area and the red area. What is safe to send to and what is not safe to send to. We shouldn't really be continuously sending to the folks that have never opened or haven't opened in the past 6 months. Some senders even take that a bit more seriously, and they pull it back to maybe 90 days. If somebody hasn't opened in 90 days, we're not going to continue sending to them. What we have here, though, is a green area is in the last 6 months. The red area is more than 6 months without an open. So here's an example. This is an actual dealership. Again, we've hid the name, Dealer A. If we look at the number of emails that are going out on a daily basis, on average, 70 to 85% of their emails is going out to audience members that last opened an email within the past 6 months. And that's quite healthy. 70 to 85 is quite healthy. Really, we want to be shooting for 90% going out to an audience member that did open within the last 6 months, but 70 to 85 is still a pretty good number to shoot for. And then if we look at the number of opens they're getting and the open rates, Gmail open rate 32%, Yahoo 49%, Hotmail 21%, iCloud 41%, AOL 46%. So if we're looking at those unique open rates, that shows us that for the most part, they've got pretty good reputation. And we can see again that they're not sending to too many inactive audience members, and Gmail, Yahoo, etc., they're treating them that way. That for the most part, this is a pretty good sender. We're going to allow this mail to go through to the inbox. Now I've got dealer B. This is a completely different situation. About 20 to 30% of the emails on a daily basis is going out to that green segment, folks that last opened in the past 6 months. Dealer B is sending about 70% of their emails to even 80% to audience members that have not opened and are just continuously sending to. This is why it's really important we do not, acquire somebody's email address and 3 years later they haven't opened an email, but we're just continuously going to send to them, because A, it's going to lead to complaints, but B, it's also going to show Gmail, Yahoo, etc., that this is not a sender that really cares about list hygiene, and we shouldn't be concerned about moving their mail to the inbox. So again, if we can see here, about 70% of the emails to 80% of the emails are going out to audience members that have not opened an email. And then if we can look at how Gmail is treating this sender, open rate 0.53%. So anytime we're seeing an open rate that low, we know we're only getting into the spam folder with Gmail. So Hotmail also 5%. So really, really low, poor open rates. We can also see higher complaints here for this sender. And again, if you continuously send to audience members that have not shown an open, this is what's going to happen. We're going to get a spam folder placement. We're also going to drive more complaints. And once you do that for a period of time, it becomes quite challenging then to repair your reputation. This is an example of a customer I worked with that implemented stricter sunset policies on how they were treating their inactive audience members. And when I try and kind of get this point across to certain senders, it is kind of tough to wrap your head around that by sending less emails, we're going to get more opens. But that's what happens when you repair your reputation. So we're removing the inactive audience members, and in doing so, we're improving our chances of getting into the inbox with folks that are going to open our emails. We don't want to continuously send to inactive audience members, and that hurt our chances of getting into the inbox of folks that do open. So this sender here, we can see here, the orange line is the number of sent emails on a given month. And then the blue chart here, the blue graph, is the number of unique opens. So as we can see here, the number of unique emails sent lowering. So they started out with about 14 emails per month, 14 million emails per month. Over the course of a year, they went from 14 million to about 9 million emails per month. In that same time period, the number of unique opens went from about 9 million. I'm sorry, it went from about 1 million to 1.4 million. So again, even though the number of emails deploying declined, the number of unique opens improved. And again, I know that's interesting to try and wrap your head around, that sending less emails results in more opens, but when you improve your sender reputation, that's exactly what happens. And really, why are we really honing in on this right now? Again, because Gmail and Yahoo especially came out with the new sender rules. They're starting to enforce them, and they're enforcing them where they're seeing major issues, right? So here's an example of the past 8 months, and this is a random assortment of senders, not dealerships. So different senders that I oversee as a deliverability consultant. And we can see here the kind of light green line at the top there. That's the average open rate over the course of the last 8 months. Pretty steady. If we look at dealerships, it's a different story. We can see that unique open rate line declining. And, in the past year or so, in the past several months, we've gone from about 40% to about 25 to 30%. And it continues to drop. And it will continue to drop unless we address some of the major issues that we're seeing around sunsetting. So again, how we treat those old inactive email addresses, and also around the spam complaints. Those are the two major areas that we really see on our side that need to be improved. And once those are addressed, we should start to see open rates start to incline again with Gmail back to a normal level, which hopefully should be 35, 40% that we were seeing towards the middle of last year. And that's really everything I have to go over. I think there's going to be some follow-ups that we can address, but that's the information that we have to share at this current time. So thank you for your time.